When your liability insurance comes up for renewal in 2026, I want to be very clear about something. Most premium increases are not random. Underwriters already know which accounts they trust and which ones make them nervous, and your renewal is going to reflect that. So in this video, I'm going to walk you through what is happening in the 2026 liability insurance marketplace and what's driving renewals behind the scenes, and most importantly, what you can do right now to put yourself in a situation where you feel like you got the most out of your liability insurance renewal. Good. Let's get straight to what you probably care about the most. How much is liability insurance supposed to go up this year? On moderate risks, it should be a steady year. We're looking at 0 to 10%. Okay. Now, for higher risks, it could be 5% to who knows. Now, this begs a very important question. What is higher risk? The answer to that is it depends on who you're talking to. Every company is going to have a slightly different thought process on what they think is higher risk versus not higher risk. So to understand what's going to make an insurance company think about that and make that determination, let's put some context around what is happening. There are some very important legal trends that are impacting what insurance companies are doing with renewals. First is what's called third-party litigation funding. In a nutshell, there are organizations that are investing in lawsuits the same way that you and I might invest in stocks. And there's been an increase in ads of 39% since 2020 for these types of companies that are trying to find lawsuits to invest in. So what is the net effect? There's more lawsuits and they settle out at higher dollar values, which means claims are more expensive, lawsuits are more expensive, which means liability insurance gets more expensive. Another factor that is impacting insurance is called social inflation. Basically, people don't trust the government, they don't trust authority, they don't trust big figures, they don't trust insurance companies. And so when there's a lawsuit, there's more and more of a tendency for the average person to want to award large values in a lawsuit because they don't trust the insurance company. They don't trust the company that was driving the truck, and they think they need to pay. Those people, they need to pay. That increases the amount of money that gets paid out in a lawsuit, which also impacts how much money an insurance company needs to collect to pay for those lawsuits. Also, increasing medical costs. On average, is going up about 9% to pay for healthcare bills. When insurance companies are paying for two things typically from liability insurance, it's somebody got hurt or something got broken. So when parts are more expensive and when medical bills are more expensive, the liability insurance gets more expensive. And of course, inflation is impacting us all. It's more expensive to buy car parts, electronics, it's more expensive for medical bills. Insurance companies are feeling that too, and the way they pass those costs back to their customers is by increasing liability insurance rates and rates in general. Now, all that said, when we understand what's happening on the legal trend, we still need to connect the dots to, okay, how does that impact you individually as a customer? Let me talk to you about the types of situations that are resulting in large claims. They are typically related to products, abuse and molestation, or lack of care, so professional liability, which means that if you are in a business and you make a product that somebody's going to deem to be risky, like let's say harnesses for zip lines, or let's say you are building single family homes. Insurance companies are probably going to find that risky. Now, maybe not every insurance company, but a lot of insurance companies are going to find that risky. Also, with abuse and molestation and professional liability, there's been a large increase in lawsuits and the amount that gets paid out, which means insurance companies have to rethink how much they charge for insurance on those types of coverages. So, if your particular operation checks those boxes, you've got to know that a lot of insurance companies are going to be looking at you with additional scrutiny. Now, one company may have a totally different interpretation of your operation than a different insurance company. So, if you're a plumber and you've got 3 trucks, you mostly work in people's homes, one company may say, we don't really like that. We haven't had a good experience underwriting that. We really don't want it. And that company is going to want to charge you more than this company over here that says, we really like those types of plumbers. Give me as much as you can. On the same token, if you're a group home for the intellectually and developmentally disabled, this company over here may say, we've had a lot of bad lawsuits. We really don't. We're trying to scale back on that. Where this one has said, no, we've had a lot of success. Give me as much as you can. So that's what happens in the marketplace. So how do you win? Now that we've got all this information, how do you as a customer put all this together in a way that you can win your renewals? The first step, I always encourage you to find a broker that knows and understands your marketplace and can help you navigate it. Because that broker is going to be able to help you with a couple of things. One, they're going to know which insurance companies you need to talk to. We just got pretty granular about a residential plumber with 3 trucks that we know there are going to be some insurance companies very excited about that. There's going to be others that are not. And the truth is, you as a customer probably don't know who those are. And that's okay. That's not your job. That is your broker's job. So if you find a broker that works with a lot of organizations like you, they should be able to help guide you through that process. The second step is you got to make sure that you are creating a submission and creating an environment that's going to want to make underwriters compete for your business. I've got other videos. It's called Solving the Premium Problem. Check it out. It'll talk you through how to create a competitive environment. But also, as you're going to the marketplace, if you know that you are going to have some operations that might create a little bit of heartburn, you need to be upfront with the underwriter about what you're doing to mitigate that risk. So, if you've got risky products, you need to talk about what your quality control is. You need to talk about what you're doing to make sure you're managing the risk there as much as possible. For abuse prevention, you need to make sure you have written policies and procedures about how you're identifying, reporting, and training people to prevent abuse. And if you're providing care, you need to be able to document your quality control procedures. Because for all of these things, when an insurance company goes to court, your policies and procedures are your sword and shield in court. And if you don't have those policies and procedures, you're kind of showing up to court naked. So that's why insurance companies are asking for this documentation up front, which means if you can provide it, you're going to get better consideration. Also, risk transfer is incredibly important. If you're subcontracting work or you're hiring independent contractors, it's critical that you've got the contracts in place so that you're not going to get hit with something that they did. With contractors, this is critical. You got to have subcontractor agreements. You got to be managing those contracts. And in social service environments, if you've got medical professionals, you need to be making sure that you're keeping track of their professional liability insurance and you've got agreements in place with them. And lastly, if you've got contracts you need to comply with, you got to know that insurance companies are not going to want to offer high limits on things like product and completed operations liability or abuse or professional if they don't have to. But one of the reasons they know they might have to is if you've got a contract, whether it's with a general contractor or if it's with the government or some other type of entity that's requiring you to carry higher limits, that's a really good reason to need it. Insurance companies want to see it. Just provide it up front. So let me leave you with this big takeaway. Winning a 2026 liability insurance renewal isn't about shopping harder. It's about reducing uncertainty for the underwriter. So, when you can clearly show how you control products, prevent abuse, manage care quality, and transfer risk, you stop being a question mark and start being an account the carriers want to keep. So, if your renewal is coming up this year, don't wait until 30 days out to start thinking about this. The organizations that get the best outcomes are preparing months in advance, and they're working with brokers who actually understand their industry. So if this was helpful, please hit like and subscribe. It helps other people like you find the content. If you want to talk to me about your particular situation, my contact information's in the details. And as always, thank you so much for watching. Please go build something great.